On this week's show, the Georgia Southern men's and women's basketball teams going in different directions. Will they both be able to get on track this weekend? And the Georgia Southern baseball team opens up the season Friday night at J.I. Clemens. All that and more as we welcome you inside the Eagles Nest.
White. Eagles came to fight, it's that blue. White. Eagles came to fight, it's that blue. White. Eagles came to fight, Georgia Southern putting on the best show of your life, it's that blue.
And welcome inside the Eagles Nest. I'm your host Josh Aubrey, being joined by Mike Anthony, sports editor and Georgia Southern beat writer for the Statesboro Herald. And Mike, basketball season's wrapping up and you're getting down to the wire here for Georgia Southern. A bad time to start a skid. Unfortunately, it looks like that's what's going on with the guys. Maybe they peak too soon. You don't want to give up hope because they can still get one of the top 4 spots, very important in the tournament, because then you don't have to play that extra day. As for the women, some good news. They're above 500 and we hadn't seen that in quite a while.
Yeah, it seems like their ship's passing in the night here, and for the guys, it's not going in the direction that they'd like. They started out so hot. 7-0 in league play. They have built themselves a 2-game advantage in the conference, and now that's gone after 4 consecutive losses on the road. The last 2 coming last week as they took a trip up to the Carolinas, first going down against Coastal Carolina, and then Appalachian State returning the favor from the loss that they received earlier this season at Hanner Fieldhouse. And for the guys, I think it's just an example of not so much the Stars not playing well. Tukey Brown, another great night, scoring over 30. He's right up there along with Ike Smith, still at the top of the individual scoring leaders for the Sun Belt. But this is what happens when just one wheel gets a little loose on a machine. You need everybody on the team contributing, and whether it's shots not falling for some of the role player guys who they depend on for a few good looks to keep the big scorers open, or whether it's injury concerns. Earlier this season, the front court doing so well with a good rotation of Sean O'Connell, Monte Glenn, Coy Simmons. You get a couple of bumps and bruises, they aren't able to accrue those minutes, and now it's a little bit easier for teams to get out on the perimeter, force bad shots, and I think that's what you're seeing from the guys. So right now, I think you got to do what you can to get healthy, and hopefully when you get healthy, the good play will return.
All right, well, let's talk about the good news, and that is the women. They're above 500. It's been quite a while since that's happened, especially at this time in the season. They seem to be getting things clicking for them. Tukey Brown's sister has been red hot lately. I think they call her Pumpkin. I don't know if she wants us using that one out here, but Alexis is her given name, Alexis Brown, and she's been hot. Then you've got the post players. Seems like they're doing more in the post instead of maybe shooting those threes that I think sometimes you can fall in love with, like that second baseman going to a baseball analogy, who hits a home run and then he just wants to keep on swinging for the fences. They seem to be a little bit more going with Patrice Butler in the paint and then letting some of the other guards do their things from outside, and Angel McGowan's been pretty solid throughout the season.
Well, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, right when this momentum started to build up, about how this team knew that they had Patrice Butler. They knew they had Angel McGowan that they could lean on. It's going to take some of the younger girls coming around, fitting into Coach Kip Drown's system, and that's what you're seeing, namely with Alexis Brown. They're starting to contribute. They're starting to draw some attention from opponents, and this team, a little bit deeper than they have been, they've got a few more scoring options. When this team has 3 or 4 scorers going, they're tough to stop. Earlier in the season, that wasn't the case. You could only get maybe one girl hitting her shots every night. So now that this team is starting to play better together, find the hot hand, maybe switch up the hot hand in the course of play and have a second or third option, they're becoming a much bigger force. And right now, they're creeping up not just in the middle of the standings, they're getting a little bit closer to those top 4 seeds, which, as you remember, is the bye this year. So that would be a great accomplishment to get the bye. But regardless of how the final standings shake up, just good to see the Eagles back on track, really playing the right way down the stretch.
All right, well, the women play on Thursday night, then the guys and the women play the doubleheader there on Saturday, with the men then coming back and playing on Monday at 7 o'clock. Well, another team getting things underway this week is the Georgia Southern baseball team. They're hosting MTSU Friday night, then Saturday afternoon. Sunday they play the one game, and of course it has to happen on the same weekend that the basketball team is home. It always seems to end up that way. You know, we've mentioned a little bit about the Eagles and why they should be optimistic about this season. Let's, kind of continue on that. Georgia Southern with plenty of reasons. You got the Sun Belt tournament at home. You've got all these guys returning and a deep pitching staff. Everything's there on the table, it looks like, for a good season for Georgia Southern.
Right, I think it's all going to begin and end with the pitching. Georgia Southern returning all three of its weekend starters from last season. Evan Challenger won't be going in this series. He'll probably see his first action maybe next week against Georgia Tech or Georgia, but still plenty of pitching coming from the front of the rotation and the back of the bullpen. A lot of the relievers coming back, they were key last year. A guy like Langston Hughes we saw last year really come on as a closer, but also, as we saw in the tournament, a guy who can go out there and give you 7 no-hit innings. So a lot of versatility on this team, a lot of experience on this team. That's what you need at the collegiate level, especially on the mound. And then looking out into the field, again, more experience. This is a Georgia Southern team who used to return 1 or 2 key guys, but every year you'd see a freshman being slotted in, a transfer being slotted in, and you're going to see some new faces this weekend getting their shots. But for the most part, I'd say 6 or 7 of those 8 positions out in the field have been spoken for, and I guess that's the good news. The better news is, talking to Coach Rodney Hennon, he seems to think that some of the younger guys might challenge for those spots. So if you've got this caliber of team with an extra year of experience coming back from a run as far as they went to the Sun Belt Championship game, it's good to have most of them back. It's even better to hear that they might not even have that position in a couple of weeks.
All right, well, we did hear from Rodney Hennon a couple of weeks ago, mainly about the renovations to J.I. Clements, which you'll have a chance to see this weekend. But we also talked a little bit about the X's and O's and the players coming back. Here's what he had to say about this season.
We are more experienced going into the season. We return all 3 starters in the outfield with Baldwin in center, Wren, and Ballard on the corners. In the infield, 3 or 4 starters back there, led by Ryan Cleveland, who's now a senior, Evan McDonald, Cal Baker. C.J. Brazel gives us experience behind the plate. So 11 seniors total on our roster, which is more than you normally see. So, hopefully that experience and that leadership is going to bode well for us. We feel like we have a talented group of newcomers, a really good freshman class, some guys that will, we're looking for another starter there in the infield. We got a couple of freshmen in Stephen Curry and Mitchell Golden kind of battling for that spot right now. A talented catcher in Luke Berryhill, where I think gives us a good situation there, having a veteran and a young guy to kind of help bring him along. And some other guys in that freshman class that, as we get going, I think we'll find roles for position-wise and be able to contribute.
Pitching-wise, you may have one of the stronger groups in all of the Sun Belt, and that's saying a lot because the Sun Belt's pretty tough, and you add Coastal in there. Tell us a little bit about your pitching staff and what you expect out of there, and what are you looking for with those guys?
Well, we really didn't know what to expect going into last year with 2 freshmen throwing on the weekends, and fortunately I think you saw Chase Cohen and Brian Eichhorn really step up last year and mature as the season went along. And you bring those guys back along with 5th-year senior and Evan Challenger, who's done a great job in the Friday night slot for the last 2 seasons for us. So and he's a guy that our guys really kind of feed off on that staff. He's the guy they look to, and he's just been a hard worker from day one, and a good leader within our program. And a couple of experienced guys in the bullpen, and Connor Simmons and Landon Hughes, both were thrown out there in some big situations a year ago, and are battle tested. Guys like Ryan Frederick, who's a veteran and been around, and then some newcomers as well that we can add to that mix. We picked up a 5th-year transfer from Wofford, and Jacob Condra-Bogan. He's an experienced guy, having pitched in their rotation last year, and a couple of young arms as well that will be able to fill roles.
Listen up, truck buyers. It's Truck Month at Franklin Chevrolet, the GM giant in Statesboro. We're loaded up on tough trucks, and we're doing whatever it takes to earn your business. Silverados to Sierras, Colorados to Canyons. We've got the inventory, you get the savings. At Franklin Chevrolet, save $10,000 off MSRP on new Silverado 1500 crew cabs. Even save $10,000 off new Sierra 1500 crew cabs. Shop big, save big, drive big. Find it at Franklin Chevrolet, the GM giant in Statesboro, and franklinchevrolet.com.
And Mike, before we go, the Georgia Southern softball team actually got things underway this past week. Let's get out and see some highlights of their tournament that they hosted with some pretty impressive teams in the field. Georgia Southern squaring off against UNC Greensboro Friday night in the opening round of their tournament. Pitcher Dixie Raley sets the tone with the strikeout. The game scoreless until the fifth with one on. Andrea McKenzie finds a gap in left center. Former Effingham County Rebel Shelby Wilson races all the way around the bases to score her first run as an Eagle. Southern up 1-0. Eagle bats continuing in the sixth. Lydia Witkowski with a shot to left center. That puts runners in scoring position. Moments later, Emily Snyder, the RBI double up the middle. 2 runs will score, and that would be the final as Georgia Southern wins 3-0. Taller task the next day. Georgia Southern hosting nationally ranked Tennessee before a packed house. The Vols showing why they're so tough. This one down the line and right. Drops in. That makes it 1-0. Moments later, Tennessee adds to their lead with a couple on. Aubrey Leach, the liner to left. That allows 2 more to score, and it's 3-0. Things go from bad to worse in the third. An offensive explosion from the Vols. Megan Gregg collects an RBI with the single to right. Next, Chelsea Segrin sends one to deep left center. This one off the fence. The double plates 2 more, and the route was on. The Vols batting around. It's 9-0 when Gregg sends the laser shot over the fence in left center. The 3-run homer makes it 12-0. Tennessee goes on to win 13-2. The Eagles end up going 2-3 in that tournament. I think they lost to MTSU twice, lost to Tennessee, who's nationally ranked and undefeated. Then they beat Greensboro, and I believe they also beat Tennessee Tech this past weekend. This week they're at LSU, so they'll continue to play some pretty good teams as they get ready for another difficult Sun Belt challenge ahead. All right, well, that'll wrap things up. For Mike Anthony, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.